Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Salute, Knicks family, and welcome to another edition of the Just Knickin' It show here weekly here on the Dope Soul channel, a member of the NBK family of content providers, of Knicks content providers, I like to say. But and today, of course, or I mean tonight, there's always a lot to talk about the Knicks, and it's going to be a lot of freestyling, and a lot of attention is going to be paid to the chat, and we're going to be talking about the season so far, and of course the break, and of course what we're going to be expecting, you know. And it's gonna be fun. We'll try to not making it too long, you know, but we'll do our best to jam as much as we can in the next couple of hours, or and so on and so forth. I'm bringing in my guy Jeff. What's up, Jeff?
Salute to the chat.
Salute. Yes.
Little technical hiccup there to start with, but
I know
we smooth and cruising now, so it's all good.
Yep.
Glad to be back. Thanks for hosting.
Glad to be back. And Jeff is smiling. I know he's not, because we lost to the Boston Celtics, but we're gonna be talking about that in a couple of minutes, right? And of course, salute to the chat. On Dios was here first person who was here. Kerry Cox, shout out to you. But Jeff, you were right? You predicted 1 and 2 the last show, and we went exactly 1 and 2. Even though it was a little scary yesterday, but we pulled it off. Shout out to the queen, who it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't know, whatever time it is where she's at, but she's checking in. She's making sure we keeping the house in order. Me and Jeff not going buck wild up in here with the with the comments. Shout out to you, queen. So what do you, the last 3 games, Jeff, what do you think? How do you feel? Are you in a good place with the team?
Well, as you nailed it. You know me well, Adjae. I was rather distraught at the end of the Celtics game. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, they did this to us again. I was hot, man. I just really, super emotional, because we're fans. That's what we do. But, and it was frustrating because it feels like, I think we've lost 6 out of the last 7 to Boston, and it just feels like when a team's got your number, they just have your number, and you just want to. And I hate them so much anyway. Like, I never want to lose to Boston, so it's insult to injury when you lose every game to them.
Well,
and I think it was as much a process thing as it was anything for me. Like, I just didn't like how we looked in that game. Like, from start to finish, we had that one stretch where we came out sluggish and slow, and then we had that one stretch where we cut it to 3 in the second half, and I was like, they're gonna make a game of this. And then they had the phantom 3 free throws on the McBride foul, and from there it was just like, downhill from there. But I had a couple days to stew on it, and we did. The Atlanta game took 10 years off my life, Adjae. I'm not gonna lie. That was blowing a 6-point lead in 10 seconds left.
Listen,
I don't think any other team in the league. I think I've seen that one other time. I've seen the Knicks do it like 4 times, and like 3 in the last 3 years. So like that is very frustrating. But credit to them for being down 5 points in the overtime, and then coming back and knuckling out a win, because Brunson is him. I mean, basically, but
yeah, he's that guy.
I kind of felt like that game was the microcosm of our season in a way, though. You know what I mean? But you had these moments where the offense is clicking and everything looks great. And then we have these moments where the defense is so atrocious and the focus isn't there. And the coach isn't calling timeout at the right time. And when we need to throw the ball in, and then, you blow the lead, and then you dig yourself a hole in overtime, but then you claw back. Like, all of that was just like a microcosm of our season so far. And so really to answer your question though, I feel good about where we're at in general. I mean, we have 36 wins at the break. I mean, we haven't been that good since 1997.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the better teams that I've seen, Knick teams I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you.
9 was special and 94 was special. But as far as regular season teams, the 97 team was outstanding. And we're on pace for 53 wins, which is awesome. Are we a perfect team? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I think we're an easy team to root for.
Yeah. And you know what, Jeff? So 53 win, 53, 54, somewhere around there. It's an improvement from last season. And that's what you want from the team, right? We added all this talent around Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and you bring in Cat, you bring in Mikal Bridges, and you expect the team to do better at the end of the season. It looks like they're going to be doing better, and that's what you want, right? And that Atlanta game, I mean, one thing I have to say though, it went the way it went, but there's one good thing that happened in that game, right? At the end, what's the guy name that took the last shot?
George Yang.
Yeah, George Yang. Yeah. In seasons past, that shot would have went in.
Yep.
With our luck as the New York Knicks, that shot would have went in. It would have bounced around, somehow find its way through the hoop. But you know what? It didn't go in yesterday. We came up with the win, and that's what matters. 2 weeks from now, nobody's gonna remember that it was a close game, that we were up 18. They're just gonna see a W next to that game, and that's all that matters, right? Now I know the Boston Celtics game. We're clearly not that upper echelon team to go toe to toe with them, right? We're not there yet, and that doesn't mean we don't have the talent, or we're not there yet. Whatever it may be, you got to remember these guys have been playing for 5 years, or for the core has been together for many seasons. Our core is brand new. These guys are just now. This is their first season together. The core that we have right now. So don't be discouraged. Don't feel bad. Growing pains. I mean, this is the process that most teams go through. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, look at OKC. Last season, OKC was a very good team, but they got beat in the playoffs, right? I mean, those teams have to grow. The chemistry, they have to build that chemistry. They have to go through the process. We're not going to roll over one day and start winning games. I mean, the best, back, a few years back when they were doing those teams with the big threes, like none of those teams came the first year and started winning championships, right? It took them, took them a couple of seasons before they got their act together and made it happen. So listen, Boston is right now is just a better team. Okay. If we bump into them in the playoffs, like we're not going to get swept, but it's going to be tough to beat that team in 7-game series. I mean, it's just, they're just that much better than we are. They're that much better. They're more in sync. They're more comfortable in their role, and in their, everybody know their role, and they're just that much better because they've been together that much longer than us. So don't feel bad. Don't feel too bad, my guy. I mean, I
guess it's just in my mind, I'm trying to figure out how do we solve the issues that plague us against the Celtics. I think that's where my frustration comes from, because it just looks like they have the perfect combination of players. They feel like our kryptonite right now. And I'm not sure. And like, Mitchell Robinson helps us, but not really against Boston, because he never defends well against the Celtics. And so I'm trying to figure out, and I know OG Anunoby wasn't there, so that will help, but they were without 2 of their best players too. So like, I kind of feel like that was a wash. Cat really struggled in that game. I don't know if it was injuries, but you didn't see a good performance from Hart or Cat. I think Boston does a lot of things that puts Hart in they don't let Hart beat them somehow. Like they were able to defend us in a way where he doesn't really get the same looks that he does. And I guess it's just that they're really good at covering the cuts and those sorts of things because they're so switchable. But it just looks like a really bad matchup right now. And look, regular season doesn't mean anything either. Like I've seen teams go 3-1, 4-0 against a team in the regular season. And then you get to the playoffs where you can prep for a team. Maybe the situation has changed and the calculus changes and things can flip on their head. But right now, it felt like Boston came into MSG wanting to make a statement, and they made it and then some. You know what I mean? They wanted to say, look, we're still the best team in this conference, and the championship goes through us. And they made that statement against Cleveland the night before, or the game before, because they beat Cleveland in not as bad as they beat us, but they beat Cleveland. And I think that was on the road as well. And then they came back and they beat us as well. So to me, it was really discouraging. But at the same time, I understand that our title window is just starting to open. Like, we have a bunch of guys who are 24 to 29 years old. And so you've got a couple of year window to work with here. And so, as you said, I think it's unfair to judge this team, that against Boston, to say they should definitely be at that level when they've played together for 50 games.
Right. And you mentioned Cat didn't have a good game, and that's I don't know, what was it, that Cat was just having a bad night, or because I couldn't see anything that Boston did, that kind of slowed him down. Well,
he was on the injury report before the game with that knee tendinopathy or whatever it's called. I wonder if his knee was kind of bothering him a little bit. I don't want to make excuses. He played bad. Like, let's call a spade. But I'm just kind of curious because he didn't look anything like that. I mean, he was terrific in the next two games. I mean, literally stellar. I think he dropped 40 both games, didn't he?
Yeah, 40 and 44. Yeah, 40. Yesterday was 44, definitely. I think the game was either 40 or 41 against the Pacers or something like that. But to me, it's like, and we played Boston. They didn't have Kristaps Porzingis. At going into the game, I said, "Oh, Cat's gonna be feasting tonight." And then, to my surprise, it was probably if not his worst game of the season. It had to be one of them.
It really felt like they put a small on him. I don't even feel like.
No, yeah, they do, and a lot of teams do that. They put small guys on him, then he trips him up. He doesn't know what to do. I think he's more comfortable playing against big bodies, because this is not the first team that puts small guys on him, and then he just doesn't know what to do. Well, he doesn't want to run over the small guy. I don't know. Like, it's just
I think that sometimes, at least from my experience, I was never a good basketball player, but I was a post player. Not very tall, but I was a post player because I was the tallest guy on my team. And sometimes when I was playing defense against a taller guy, they would struggle with me more than someone of the same size because I was smaller and I had some leverage. And sometimes if you're not necessarily as used to that, I think that, it can bother you. And I think Towns likes to make those moves from the top off the dribble, and Boston is so adept and athletic at switching, they kind of take that away. So I think that maybe the Knicks need to, like, especially that night, park him down on the block and just feed it to him in the post, and maybe he can get going that way and not so much be perimeter oriented. Although I don't think he took many threes in that game either, but I'm trying to cleanse it from my mind. But
Jeff,
it wasn't pretty.
Personally, I prefer him to take more threes than, and I've said this many times on this. You probably don't agree with me, but I'm more comfortable, not more comfortable, but I don't have a problem with him taking main three, because he's an excellent 3-point shooter. And I think he needs to take more. Like yesterday, you see, yesterday's game, he was letting them fly and he was hitting them, and with his skill set, with his accuracy from 3-point line, even if you miss the first couple of shots, I would continue. I'm more comfortable with him shooting more threes. Uh, when he shoot more threes, we win. Okay, we win. Like whether he hits, 2, 3, or 4 of them, we win when he shoots more threes because it keeps the defenders on their toes. Okay, when as opposed to when he's driving, you got to remember he's a big man. It's very easy for one of them little guys to swipe the ball and to take it away from him. That happens a lot. He commits a lot of turnovers driving the ball. So I have no problem with him taking more threes at all. I mean, yesterday they were fly. He was letting them fly, and he was hitting them. And and if you notice, when the Hawks caught up is when he stopped shooting threes. Coincidentally, he didn't take too many threes in the fourth quarter. So I don't have a problem with him taking threes. But Boston, I listen, like you said, maybe they are our kryptonite. They have our number, and it is what it is. They didn't have Chris Stapps, they didn't have a Drew Holiday, and they came in and they wiped the floor with us, especially in the fourth quarter. Well, second half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. Jason Tatum took over, and there's just nothing we could have done. They're just better. You know, so but listen, overall, like you said, we're 36 and 18. So, 2 out of every 3 game, we on pace to win. Somewhere between 53 and 54 game. So how do you? You know what? I don't like to compare to last last year's team, okay? Because I hate that comparison. Because to me, it's like comparing apples and popcorn, right? Not even apples and oranges, apples and popcorn. 2 things you could put in your mouth, chew and swallow. Otherwise, they have nothing else in common. Okay. But how do you feel this team, like where we are in comparison to basically the rest of the league? You know, compared to last year where we were, compared to the rest of that last year.
Well, I'm super excited about that, Adjae, because the way that I look at it is, we're a top 5 team in the league. I mean, you can say that Boston is better than us. That's fine. You can say that Cleveland is better than us. They are what their record says they are, whether you believe in them or not at this point. I think that Oklahoma City kicked our rear end twice, and they've got a better record. I think it's pretty clear that they're better than us. But Memphis is the only team up in that stratosphere other than us, and we killed Memphis the other day. So, to be a top 4, a top 5 team for a team that hasn't been together that long and is still getting used to each other is really good. And I'm highly encouraged by McCall Bridges' play of late. I think he's improving, especially on the defensive end. It seems like on a nightly basis. And, it didn't go in, but even that shot that he had at the end of to win the game the other night, I thought it was a good look. I mean, I didn't mind. I didn't mind the process of it. I didn't mind any of it. I thought it was a good look, and one that it's one of those shots, how you just expect them to make it and then it doesn't go in and then you're surprised. That's what that kind of was for me, because he's so good from that mid-range.
Yeah.
So, and having to chase the best defender, I mean, the best offensive player around the court the entire time, and without OG, I think I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing from him, and I think he's going to get better.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's gotten better this season already. It's just like, and I don't even want to say he's inconsistent, but every now and then he has like a let down game. But overall, I think he's improved from the start of the season. So I don't have a problem with that. But and you mentioned OG, and I think that's something we're forgetting, that we didn't have OG Anunoby for those last 3 games. That would have made a huge difference. Do you know what I'm saying? That would have made a huge difference, especially in that Boston game, even in the Atlanta Hawks game. That comeback and them tying the game or taking the lead and all that. That probably wouldn't have happened if we had OG Anunoby. So what do you feel? And I know because I think I saw you mentioned that in the chat. Mitchell Robinson is supposed to maybe March 1st. They looking for him like after the All-Star break deal. And so how do you feel that? How do you feel that that's going to impact the team? Okay, so hopefully we're going to have OG Anunoby back around the same time as well, right? So we'll finally, if that's what happens, we'll finally get a chance to see what the full New York Knicks team look like in a couple of weeks. How do you feel that's going to impact what we, the game, what we have, what we see on the floor? How do you feel that's gonna make a difference?
Well, to me, it's just another club in the bag. I think it's going to take Robinson some time to kind of round into his best version of himself. I think it'll take, maybe 5 or 10 games, but I don't think we have to bring him along incredibly quickly. I think we can kind of ramp his production up because we have the depth to kind of cover him. We've been playing without him all season, so it's not like, and in fact, I think it's wise to kind of ramp him up slowly and get him ready to go. But I love the versatility it brings. Like, I think that's one of the things that we're missing in a game where teams are really getting to the cup and taking advantage of us. And like the defense in the Atlanta game was atrocious. And like, excuse me, if you can have someone there to swat some shots and alter some shots and make people think twice before going in the paint, I think that's such a bonus. And the other thing is, you and I both know that Cat gets in foul trouble a lot.
Yeah.
And so it'll be nice that when Cat goes down, that you can still play big. You know what I mean?
Right.
Precious Achua had a great night the other night. It was 26 points and however many rebounds he had. He definitely earned his minutes on the floor,
Right.
But at the same time, he's not the same deterrent at the rim that Mitchell Robinson is, nor is he the same rebounder. Mitch is great on the offensive glass, and so that provides an additional dimension to us as well. Now, there's going to be some learning curve with that too, though, because he hasn't played with McCall and Towns, and I'm sure you're going to have some lineup overlap with that. So there'll be some adjustment with that as well. But to me, you're adding a talented 5-man to the roster. Like it's just, how can it hurt? Like I don't see how it could be a detriment. I think Robinson being added to the fold just gives us more depth. It gives us more options and it gives us more versatility. So I'm all for that.
But let me ask you this question though, and that's, anybody in the chat can answer that one too. And I'm honestly asking this question because I want an answer, right? One of our weaknesses is the defending the 3-point line, but somehow we think Mitchell Robinson is going to make a difference when he comes in because he's a good rim protector, and that's going to help us out. Why do you think that's going to help us out when our weakness is really not a lot of scoring in the paint? I mean, they do score us in the paint, but most of the damage, a lot of the games we lost is because we couldn't defend the 3-point line. How do you think Mitchell Robinson is going to help us out in that sense?
Well, I think it just helps your overall team defense. You can do a lot more. In other words, so you talk about if you're deterring drives to the basket, that means that there's a lot fewer rotations that you have to make, and if you're not attacking in the painted area as much, I think it gives you opportunities to defend those perimeter shots better in certain circumstances. And the exception, I guess, would be if you had a team that was 5 out, and Robinson's always struggled in those situations anyway. But I just think having another plus defender out there who, and let's remember when Mitch was a rookie, he was blocking 3-point shots, like from Kevin Durant, not just like anybody. So he brings that to the table too. So he's got a lot of in his arsenal, and he's a stout defender. And I just think when you have more positive defenders out on the court, it makes it easier to defend any actions. And I think part of the reason that we give up so many threes is that's kind of the way that our defense is designed, like it or hate it. And I know a lot of people hate it, but we are one of the best teams in the league at defending shots against the rim, and that's kind of Thibodeau's philosophy, and kind of make them beat you from the outside. I think in some senses that's a little outdated because the league shoots the ball so well. And I think that's why we've seen guys like Kobe White, Malik Beasley, and you know all the names that have really killed us from the perimeter this year. But again, the less you have to rotate, the more you can stay at home, the more you can be a deterrent. I think the more difficult those shots become.
All right. And even before we get to the comments, and I'm going to bring this up because we're talking about it now. Shout out to you, Double D says, but having Mitch down low frees up Hart and OG more opportunities to guard the perimeter. I mean, I hear you, but is that really the case? Because a lot of times, I mean, these guys, they usually start the sequence out well, and then they set 1 or 2 picks, and then it's pandemonium. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think Mitch helps in that sense. But if Mitch, like you said, Jeff, because Mitch, he's a pretty good defender of the 3-point line, but then that takes him away from protecting the rim. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you got to pick one, because if his man is setting the pick up top, he's most likely going to be with this man. And if they switch on to him, now you got a big down low with a small guy. Mitch is away from the basket at that point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we have to see how it plays out, but I don't listen. I'm rooting for it to make a huge difference, for us. But I don't know. It's not that obvious to me that it's going to make a huge difference. So, let's see what happens. They said 1 or 2 picks, and then everything goes. Everybody's like looking for their man, and then they get confused. Shout out to the chat, man. You know what, Jeff? We might as well go into some of the comments, right? Because
sure, definitely, they're on fire tonight.
They're on fire tonight. So shout out to all you guys. Kerry Cox been here early. JJ, shout out to you. Sherwin, Double D, Greg, Ralph and Real. On Dios was the first one here. Who else? Mega, my guy Mega NYK. Shout out to you, Mega. What's going on? B Willis is in the house. All right, so let me go through some of these comments, right? Kerry Cox got a triple header here. First, he said, Knicks are a brand new team. Part 2, better to win ugly than lose pretty. When we talk about the game. And lastly, the team is not complete. Goes with the first statement, the Knicks are a brand new team. And I agree with that. Okay. We both, Jeff, you and I, we agree that this is year 1 of this team. This is the first season. And as a matter of fact, for a team during the first season, we think they're doing very well. They're tied for 4th best team in the league for guys who are just playing together for the first time. I mean, if you look at the other 3 teams that are above them, I mean, those teams have been together for a while, right? You have OKC, Cleveland, and Boston. And we're tied with Memphis for the fourth best team in the league.
And we ran them out of the building the other night, too.
Exactly.
Don't forget that. I think that's an important point. It's not just that we're tied with Memphis. We've shown that when we're on our game and we're complete, we can put a hurting on a team.
Yeah,
that's our best win of the season in a lot of aspects.
Are we done with them this season? Because did we play them twice already?
I don't know. I thought we just played them once, but I could be wrong.
No,
I know we played them at MSG.
So somebody in the chat let us know if we played. I don't know. I keep thinking we beat them already. But one thing, we haven't lost to them in quite a few games, so I don't know. Somebody in the chat let me know or let us know if we've played if he played Memphis, if that's it for Memphis for this season. Craig says it has nothing to do with they've been together for a long time. Their players are totally better than all of our players. Well, both could be true at the same time. I mean, yeah, it does have something to do with the lack of chemistry with our team, those guys not being together for a long time. And you're right, like I don't know if at every position they're better than us, but yeah, their players are better. Their players are better. I mean, they're at a couple of positions. You can make a case, at the one and at the five. But oh, so somebody said we got Memphis at the end of the month. Okay.
That's JJ, my guy. Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
JJ,
Thanks,
for looking
JJ.
that up.
All right. Yeah. So Greg, I mean, you're wrong and you're right. All right. The first part of your statement, I think I disagree. Well, not that you're wrong. I disagree with the first part, but I agree with the second one. So they both could be true. I don't see anything wrong with that. And again, Greg said, if Tom was a good coach, we wouldn't have gotten blown out the second time in the same season, but with no adjustment. You know what? Listen, I'm not a Tibbs defender, but I don't see anything he did in that game that really was the reason for us blowing out. I mean, Boston is just a better team. Um, and I can't even say that the so here's one thing that didn't happen in the Boston game, right? Because I feel like Cats should have had a better game, but you can't blame that on the coach. I mean, the offense went through him. He just was not having a good game. It's not like they didn't run the offense through Karl-Anthony Towns. They did, but he just was not having a good game. I mean, there's but so much, but the coach could do.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer to that is. I know, Greg makes some good points for sure, but
yeah, I'm not a Tibbs defender, but this I don't see anything in that game.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we're 36-18, our best start in almost 30 years, and we want to get rid of the coach. I think that's crazy. That's me. I don't really like. I understand if he's not your cup of tea, you're always going to have some disagreements with the coach. If you want to say that he played the precious Huckporty Hart lineups too long, I will ride with you on that. I think that's true, but there's no such thing as a perfect coach. No matter who you bring in here, you're going to be aggravated him about something. Eric Spoelstra is struggling in Miami. Most people think he's the best coach in the game. Steve Kerr is struggling with the Warriors. He's one of the best coaches in the game, allegedly. So, it's easy to blame the coach when things aren't going right because he's easier to replace than the players. But I also think that this front office, Leon Rose in particular, firmly believes in Thibodeau, and I don't think they're, despite what the fan base may say, I don't think there's any push to get rid of him for sure. And frankly, it seems like the players really like him. They play hard for him. They have glowing things to say about him. They really seem to have a camaraderie with him, so you can beat that horse till it's dead, but I don't think it's going to change the outcome. I think Tibbs is going to be here for a while, with the possible exception if we lost in the first round of the playoffs, or collapse this season, or things can always happen, but like barring the unforeseen, like something crazy.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. Like I don't understand. Like you just like we've been saying here, it's a brand new team. How do you fire the coach? Listen, and you're right. You may not like him. I'm not crazy about Tibbs, but I don't think he should be fired. I mean it's crazy to think that's the solution because you don't like the coach or I don't know. It's just strange to me, but we can talk about that coach stuff another time. And actually, I want to have that conversation when Queen is here because it's the thing is I haven't heard any argument on either side on why they should, those who defend him. I don't understand why they defend him so much, and those who want to fire him, I don't understand why they want to fire him so much. So I'm like, I don't know, none of it makes sense to me. And I have my own take on this, so maybe we'll talk. We'll save that for another show. And shout out to you, Greg, for that comment. Uh, so let's go down here. Shout out to you, JJ. Said the Celtics are everyone's kryptonite, not just ours. Uh,
Facts.
yeah, that's true. But I mean, but there are a couple of teams though that they have problems with. Didn't the Hawks beat him like twice,
Yeah.
like on a back to back or something? So, I mean, they played in a short time span. The Hawks just like completely manhandled them. Or was it them or was it Cleveland? I don't know. The Hawks were going around beating all the good teams except for us. So I think we have a 2-2 season with them.
Craig,
And
why is it a given that we're going to get knocked out of the playoffs early? Like, the playoffs aren't even here yet. Like, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We won a series in each of the last 2 seasons in the playoffs, which is more playoff series than we won in the previous 20 years. So, like, let's let things play out first before we, throw the baby out with the bathwater.
and I'm gonna go even further, Jeff. Let's say we do get knocked out after second round of playoffs, but what does that mean? That doesn't mean we're not a better team. That doesn't mean we're a bad team, because you got to remember you have 2 great teams at the top of the Eastern Conference this season. Okay, so yeah, if we run into one of them and we get knocked out, there ain't no shame in the game. What's wrong with that? You can't. You got to look at the league. You can't just look at first round, second round. You got to look at who your opponent is. You know what I'm saying? But um, anyway, teams are putting the 5 on Hart and Wings on Cat.
Yeah,
That,
but the interesting thing about that is Boston doesn't seem to suffer for doing that as much as some other teams. Like Indiana got crushed when I mean Hart just killed Indiana. Like and I thought he was pretty good against Atlanta too. So there's something there. JJ is absolutely 100% right. And we'll be we'll see what the difference is there, because there's something else that Boston is doing that's super effective, that's making Hart not have the usual impact on the game.
JJ, I'm getting another. JJ says, I don't like how we didn't let Bridges do damage offensively against Trae Young last night. That's a good point. But is it that we didn't let him do that, or he just didn't insert? He wasn't assertive in the game to the point where he kind of demanded the ball. And you're right, he did have a very good game. We did exploit that mismatch, not the game before that. Yeah, that was a little surprising that we did. But then with Cat was in his bag, Brunson was playing well. Maybe there was just not enough touches, enough ball to go around. Precious was having I mean, how many people could have 25-point games on a team?
Yeah, I think part of it is, I think I saw that when Bridges was guarding him, Trae was 3 for 11 from the field. Mm-hmm. And so I think he was expending a ton of energy on the defensive end. And so I think that on and offensively we were it's not like we were struggling to score. I mean, we had
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. We had 140 something points. So
yeah.
I think, and I also think there's something too. You don't have to show your entire hand in the regular season either, right? Because let's just say, for example, that we play the Pacers. I'm not the Pacers, the Hawks. Let's say we play the Hawks in the playoffs, and you haven't really gone to that matchup very much. Well, that's still an ace you have in your pocket, because that's not something they've seen on film, and so that's something you'll be able to attack them with later on. And maybe that's something that comes out in film as you study a team for winning 4 out of 7, as opposed to second night of a back-to-back. Okay, this is who we got. You know what I mean? There's just less prep time that's involved. So I don't know.
Yeah. All right, and shout out. Thanks for the comment, JJ. When we were talking about Mitch Sherwing, shout out to you, Sherwing. Says Mitch is a defender. Get him. It'll take him one game to get in great. I hope you're right about that.
That would be great for sure. I'm ready for that. Your lips to God's ears, my friend.
Oh yeah. With Mitch, the weak side defender doesn't have to be in the paint to help. He can stay home on the shooter. Yeah, that sounds good. But when they start setting those high picks, and we lose, we switch, we lose, we drop back coverage, and then it's chaos. That's my problem. That's why I want to see how they design those defensive play to see how we're gonna make it work. Okay, I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'd like to see this happen. Okay, it's not. It's easier said than done. Okay, just Mitch, park down low, and then everybody stay with their player. It just doesn't work that way. I haven't seen it work that way. So shout out to Greg. Said there've been teams that are under 500 that have worse record than us that beaten Boston this season. Don't make excuses for our team. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. It's the NBA, man. Anything can happen on any given night.
Well, I'll say this: we get Boston's best shot when we play them. I know that we did the ring ceremony, and they were up to play that game for sure. They were not I think they lost a couple nights before to a team that was rather head scratching. Clearly, they weren't as focused in that game. But I'm not making excuses for them. I think they played terrible. And I think we have a lot of issues. And I think that it is concerning if we have to go up against them in a 7-game series in the Eastern Conference Finals, or as it would be set up now in the second round of the playoffs. But I think that proves to be a counterpoint to what you're saying, Greg, is that if we do face the Celtics in the second round, I'm just using a hypothetical, and then we lose in 6 games, we've seen all year that Boston is the better team talent-wise. Are we just going to sit here and say that's all on the coach and get rid of him? I don't.
Right.
And maybe that is what it means. I don't know, but to me, I think that we have a coach who's winning 2/3 of his games, and you have to give him a chance with this squad to see what they can do in the postseason. I like that he gives us a minimum level of competence on almost every night. We had the 2 stinkers against Boston. Yes, it's frustrating. I hate it. But overall, we're having a great season. And in the last 10 games or so, we're 8-2. And if you look at the teams that we have wins against, a lot of them are pretty good teams. So And the other thing that I'll say is Thibodeau coach teams tend to play better in the second half of the year. That's one thing that we've seen at the very least. You like to talk about his failing in the playoffs. And yes, he has failed in the playoffs, but I don't think he's gotten much further than he ought to have considering the circumstances. You want to say he should have beat Miami? Okay. The Knicks were down to their last 4 players. Alec Burke was starting in Game 7 at the Garden against the Pacers last year, and they shot 80% from the field the entire game. I'm not so he's right there for getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think that the potential is there for this team to make an Eastern Conference Finals run again, but they still have a bunch of stuff to figure out.
Yep. I agree. Shout out to East Blue. Drew says, salute. We are not championship ready.
I agree.
Yeah, we don't disagree with that. Nobody's saying we're championship ready. In fact, we're saying that, this is a brand new team. It's unheard of that the first time you put a team together, the first season, they championship ready. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. So it's going to take some years. Boston, before they got that chip last year, boy, they went through some painful seasons, some painful losses, some very painful exits, playoff exits before they got to the championship. Shout out to HP Carlos, much love from Portugal. Shout out to you, brother. Knicks fans everywhere, everywhere. Jeff, I don't know how many likes we have, so I got to check that. Oh, you guys hitting the like button? Hit the like button, man. There's nobody, there's no like police tonight. We have 32 likes, man. Let's get that thing up to 50. Let's do it increments. Let's go. Hit the like button. And David L. Bryce says, I disagree, Jeff. We're meeting the Celtics in the second round.
Yeah, I thought I said that. Did I not say that? I said we might meet them.
So, and listen, man, we meet him, and anything can happen. And because they're playing better. And you did say, Jeff, like sometimes, you sweep a team in the regular season. That happened to us, bubble year, right? We swept the Hawks in the regular season. They came in and they eliminated us in the playoffs very easily. Gentlemen sweep. They sent us packing. All right. So, yeah, the regular season is good, and but the playoffs it's a different ball game. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
All right. So overall, and we've been saying this all night, we're top 4 or 5. We're tied with Memphis for 4th and 5th best record in the league. Okay. One talking point and that we've had, or I've read here in the chat, not tonight, but over the weeks during the shows. Oh, the Knicks, we're beating all these sub 500 teams. We have an easy schedule and blah 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 and so on and so forth. And I always say, listen, it doesn't matter, Jeff. I don't know if you disagree with me.
No, I don't.
These are NBA teams, right? If they in the NBA, you got to get up and play them. You got to beat them. I don't care if they're above or sub 500 teams. I don't care if they're missing 2-3 superstars. I don't care. Bottom line is, that's recorded as a win. It's in the win column, and that's what matters. So
my question to those folks would be this: would you rather be 5-0 against the top 3 teams, the other top 3 teams in the East,
right,
and 26-25 overall, or would you rather be 34-18 and 1-5 against the top 4 teams, or whatever it is we are? Like, to me, it's look, it's not the NCAA tournament. You don't get in based on quality wins. You stack as many wins as you can, and the regular season is important because the more wins that you get, the more games that you get at home, and home court advantage matters in the playoffs.
Right.
It's not a be all end all, but if you get to a game 7, the home team with the home court advantage wins 70% of the time. So, you have to get to the playoffs first, and that's what you do first. And so right now, the idea is to stay in the top 6. So all of these wins that we're stacking up that people are saying meaningless aren't. We need to stay in the top 6 at a minimum, and I would argue top 4. But because then at least you're at home in the first round at a minimum. But step 1 to the playoffs, step 2, worry about where you're seated in the playoffs, and step 3 is win in the playoffs. But it's a continuum. It's a 1, 2, 3. It's not just, the only thing that's important is the playoffs. Well, if you're the Philadelphia 76ers and you're 20-34, it doesn't matter about the playoffs because you may not even get there. So right. You get there first, and then when you get there, then that's the next step, and then you win the first round, and then when you win the first round, then we can worry about the second round. And that's where we've been hung up the last 2 years. But I think Jalen Brunson is as clutch a player as there is in the league come a crunch time situation. So I'm really comfortable if the Knicks can stay close in those games that you've got a puncher's chance, because we've seen it twice this week where he just says, this game mine, guys.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the chat. They still with the Boston Celtics, man. Shout out to David L. Bias says, I would love for us to get a win over the Celtics this season to start the process of getting over that hump, though. Well, I said the same thing last season, right? In that last game against them, we beat them silly that last game. Okay, and we didn't even have all our players. We beat them, so I thought we started to get over the hump, but of course, so far that hasn't proven to be the case. It's gonna take time. I'm sorry, guys. Like, you guys think these guys could roll out of their bed and start playing well. It doesn't work that way. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just it's just gonna be. I mean, that's just how it is in the NBA. Teams don't just put together and then start winning. We've seen better players team up somewhere, and it hasn't worked out for them. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to East Blue Drew, says the way we lost yesterday told me that Tibbs should play rookies. I hope you're trolling, East Blue Drew, because I don't see what this has to do with. Hey, listen, I'm all for playing rookies, but yesterday they put Huck Porty for a couple of minutes, and he was completely lost out there. And it's a good thing they didn't let him play more minutes, because he was not having it. He didn't have a good couple of minutes at all. So I think Tibbs did the right thing by going back to Precious and Cat, and those guys delivered. You know, I mean, I don't see how playing rookies would have given us a better chance yesterday. So
I don't know. I actually like the rotation as with the guys like Campaign and Landry Shamet and
yeah,
Precious Achua. I actually think the bench is starting to come into its own. It was certainly excellent in the Indiana game. I thought it was their most complete game of the season. I thought the bench was really active and really terrific. So, I think Tyler Kolek's going to be a really good player. I think Porty's going to be a really good player. Daddy's been hurt. That's why we're not seeing him. He has a toe injury. So that's why he's not in the lineup, because I think otherwise, with the OG being out, if he was healthy, he would see some minutes. And McCullough is, just getting back into G League form. So, look, the rookies are not for this year. Like, can they help here and there spot minutes? Absolutely. But the rookies are they're gonna develop over time, and in 2-3 years, when we're maybe at the second apron, or maybe we're above the second apron, and we need those low cost salaries to give you good production, they're going to be right there. And so they're vital to the growth of this organization and the future of this organization. But I don't know if they're right, just plug and play right now.
Mm-hmm. And East Blue Drew, thank you for that. By the way, Jeff, have you heard anything for Deuce? Like, how somebody asked that in the chat, and I didn't highlight it, but
bruised ribs is all I heard. So, I don't know what to make it like. Bruised ribs, it sounds like it's going to take a little bit to heal, because there's not really anything you can do for that. Like, so, I that's all I know. I haven't heard, but I'm not like I don't have like a pipeline of information or anything. So the good news is we've got at least 7 or 8 days to rest before the Chicago game, and hopefully that time off and not having to do too much will help. But it may be touch and go for a little bit, which is a shame, because McBride, shout out to his granddad, Wiz, who I don't even see it in the chat.
I don't see him in the chat today.
But he'll be on the replay gang if he's not. But he's been playing great lately. I really, again, the Indiana game, he was phenomenal. And I love the defensive intensity that he brings. And to me, when he was healthy with OG out, I would rather have him in the starting lineup. I don't know what you think about that.
Say that again. When
I said when OG is hurt, I would rather Deuce in the starting lineup than Precious, but I don't know what you think about that.
No, I wouldn't like that, because I think it depends. There are only a handful of teams that I think that would be beneficial to us, but I think we do need the size. So I mean, most teams are more of a standard lineup. And Precious hasn't been terrible. He's actually been playing well. I think there's one game where he really didn't show up. I can't remember. Oh, the Celtics game, right? He really didn't show up in that game. But
Yeah,
otherwise,
he
he's been
was terrible in the Boston game for
yeah, he's
sure.
terrible. But otherwise, like every other game, yeah, he's played. He's been pretty good. And I like Deuce coming off the bench. I actually like the Deuce and campaign combination. With campaign handling. Deuce obviously he plays the two guard, but small. But that doesn't stop him from getting his points. That doesn't stop him from playing defense. So his size doesn't most of the time doesn't. I'm sure there's gonna be a couple of times, depending on who the opponent is, that's gonna be a problem. But overall, that hasn't affected his game at all. So I like him coming off the bench. I don't have a problem. I'd rather Precious start when we don't have OG. Because I prefer the regular structure. I prefer that because if you start Deuce now, you'd have Brunson, Deuce, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and Cat.
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird structure. I don't see most teams. I think that probably would be a disadvantage for us to do that. Most teams.
Well, I love the spacing and the shooting that it provides, though. I think on offensively, and that's the strength and identity of this team anyway. That starting five is really difficult to guard and can punish people in a way that they can't with Precious on the floor. And Precious has done a good job.
Yeah. I mean, I see. I just don't like the structure. I just don't like, you know.
I'm not a big fan of Precious at the five, though. I mean, at the four, rather. I like Precious as the backup five. I don't like him as a four.
Really?
Yeah, that's just me, though.
I don't know. I think he plays better when he's the four. And the problem we have is both him and Cat are better at the four, both of them. But unfortunately, one of them have to play the five.
Oh, I think the Cat's better at the five. I don't want Cat at the four at all.
He's if you have somebody else doing the dirty five work and you let him just be the four guy, I think he's be tremendous.
I think he's most effective, and it gets unlocked at the center position. I really do. It's on offense. It's just super efficient. It's impossible to guard. I love Cat at the five, and I think he rebounds well enough to handle the position. Is the rim protection going to be not there? Yeah, but I mean, adding Precious to the mix doesn't give you any more rim protection, really. I mean, he's not a shot blocker and paint protector. I mean, he'll get a few weak side blocks, but that's not his game. He's a good defender, but he's not. I don't think anybody's not going to the basket because Precious Achiuwa is in the game.
Yeah. So what do you feel? Do you feel like when Mitch is back, like we're gonna see the Mitch Cat out there at some point, or do you
a little bit, but I don't think that much. I actually think that he'll just like what Cat plays 35 minutes a game, play 13 or 14. Play the minutes that he's not on the floor. Mitch gets those, and then maybe 4 or 5 minutes besides that. If Robinson's stamina can handle it, 4 or 5 minutes with Cat, depending on matchups. But in other words, it would be nice when a team goes big if we could also go big. But I don't think Mitch needs to play more than, as David said, I don't think Mitch needs to play more than about 20 minutes anyways. So that doesn't leave a ton of overlap time between he and Towns any way you slice it.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what that looks like, man. What the coach does when he has everybody back. I mean, this is when Tibbs really gonna have to put his strategic hat on and really manage those games. Shout out to East Blue Juice says Pressure's been really good. Yeah, except for the Boston game where he completely disappeared. But yeah, he's been really good. He had a very good game yesterday against the Hawks. Greg, they need to extend Precious. David L. Breyer says, I will tell you, Cat can win any series, even Celtics. If Cat decided he was going Thundercat, I like the Thundercat mode, we could beat the Celtics in 7.
Sort of omens give him sight beyond sight, then, David. That's all I got to say. Go. I'm for it. Let's go.
Listen, you guys got to remember, it's the NBA, man. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. All right. All right. So
But
we
at the
have.
same time, what's possible is not what's probable.
You're right. Not probable, but possible. That's exactly right. So we have the All Star game coming up this weekend. Of course, there are two guys on our team, uh, Cat and Brunson, who are All Stars. Um,
Don't get hurt. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't get
right.
hurt.
Listen, man.
I don't care about all. I guess I'm a party pooper, but I don't care one bit about all-star festivities. Like, I'm glad our guys got the honor, but just don't get hurt. Like, come back rested and ready to go. I feel like Josh Hart is a deserving all-star, but I'm glad that he gets to chill on the beach because it'd be a lot more difficult for him to get hurt. we need all of these guys for the long haul, for the stretch run, for the playoffs. I don't just get through All-Star weekend.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And it's just I know these guys, they're not gonna not go to the All-Star games, but if I'm Dolan, I'd be like, listen, man, why don't you guys stay home? Get treatment. You've already been named to the All-Star. You are an All-Star. But they're not gonna do that. Those guys, they're gonna go hang out there. They're gonna go for the spotlight. They're gonna go,
Didn't Cat drop a 50 burger in the All-Star game the year last year?
One year he did. Yeah. Well, I remember one year he did. He was in the runnings for MVP. I don't remember if it was the last season or the season before that. Yeah, he did have a season where he was shooting them threes like crazy and hitting them.
You're right, East Blue Drew. They were already on vacation in the third quarter of that Atlanta game, weren't they? A very good point.
Didn't somebody?
David
I think
question there. You want to put it up?
I think yeah, I'll put it up in a minute. I think what's his name? Clyde did say that one of the keys to the game yesterday is don't be in the All-Star. Don't be in the All-Star break before the All-Star break. So focus on the game at hand. David Elbrier says, when Mitch returns, what can we get off waivers and buyouts? What would be more valuable, a power forward or a wing? That's a good question.
That's a great question. See, even when Mitch returns, I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of, we're pretty hard up against the second apron. So I think that all we're going to be able to afford to spend is a prorated veteran minimum salary, which we can afford starting on March 1st, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And if that's the case, probably the ideal thing is to just bring up a guy like TJ Warren. I'm not sure that there's anybody out there on the buyout market that you could get that would be worthwhile. Remember that because of our second apron status, we're capped at the second apron, but because of that status, we can't sign anybody who is making over $12.8 million who gets bought out or cut from their team. So that significantly reduces the number of names that you have to choose from. And frankly, if teams are buying a guy out, it's usually because he's washed. If he's got anything left in the tank, typically teams are going to hold on to him. I think the last player that I remember that really made a significant impact was Kevin Love when he got cut and then signed with Miami. He really did a good job. But other than that, I'm hard pressed to think of guys who were signed as maybe Russ. I don't know if Westbrook had a similar situation, but for the most part, guys who you sign off of the waiver wire at this point, they're not in the league for a reason. Usually they're vets who are too far past their prime, or they have injury concerns, which we already have more of that. So to me, I think that the way that Warren has played and has been a good soldier in Westchester, I think that I think I would reward him with that spot and see if he helps you out. But I'm not even sure he would play over Shamet or DeLon Wright, who we haven't really seen much of yet.
You don't think so? You don't think TJ Warren would play over DeLon Wright or even Shamet? I think he'd get minutes over Shamet.
I don't know. Like, is tearing up the G League as a vet like he is really, like, I'm not sure the value in that. Like, he'd have to come in and really impress Thibodeau, and Shamet's been getting more minutes of late, so I think that he's building up trust. We need him to shoot better, but especially from the perimeter. Wright is a complete unknown to me. I know he plays good defense, which Thibodeau likes, but obviously not enough to have him on the court yet. So maybe he's a little bit away, and so yeah, Keith Turner's right. Whoever we pick up is probably not going to get significant minutes and break the top 9. So I'll go with him on that and let his wisdom prevail.
That's correct. And thank you for that, Keith Turner. So Old Head says he would prefer a wing in response to that question. You guys really like it. It's I think I'm the only one. It only bothers me that we don't have a regular, like a real good guy. I mean, not that we don't have a good guy at power forward, but I feel like that we're a little weak at the power forward position. Josh Hart plays the power forward. Josh Hart is excellent, but he's not a power forward. And it doesn't bother anybody else. Right now, Precious is doing an excellent job at power forward, but I think we need reinforcement at that position. Nobody else seems to think that way. I guess I'm just worried for no reason. Like I rarely see people say, "Yeah, no, we need a power forward." Like everybody wants a wing. They want a 2 or 3. A good defensive.
Because I think that you see Precious play the 4, you can see Cat play the 4, OG can play the 4, and so Anunoby's out right now, so we look thinner at the 4 spot than we normally would be. But I don't have a problem with Josh Hart playing the 4. Like I think he does a great job. Like he rebounds better than any of those 6'8" guys anyway. So like how much are you, I guess I get the Knicks too small meme and all that, but I'm not overly worried about it. I don't. I would rather have a wing than a power forward, or at least someone who's versatile 3-4 or 2-3 either way, someone who can guard multiple positions than someone just locked into any one position.
Yeah, and Allhead also said TJ Warren is a proven scorer in the NBA. Forget the G League. I don't disagree with that. Listen, I don't know. I mean, obviously he's older now and he was injured. He's been injured. So, but TJ Warren was really good, man. Like when he was playing, he was a bucket getter. So I don't know if that could translate into the NBA if those things could come back. But I personally feel like if we have that guy coming off the bench, we're good for a good at least 10 points from him if he plays decent minutes. You know what I'm saying?
That would be great. I don't know. It's a question of whose minutes is he taking, and
I think he would take Shamet's minute. Well, I don't know that because Shamet, Tibbs probably loved the way he plays defense. I don't know if he would appreciate TJ Warren's defense that much, but we know Tibbs, if you play the guy who's playing better defense, probably is more likely to get minutes than the guy who can put the ball in the hole.
Well, I think we'll find out March 1st. I think that's the worst kept secret in the room, that's what's coming. Like we're just waiting for the clock to tick down. And so you've got 2 more weeks. And then I think you'll see TJ Warren in a New York Knicks uniform instead of a Westchester uniform. I'm not a wagering person, but if I was going to wager, I would put a little bit of money on that. I'm very confident that we're going to see that. And we'll see what he can do. And what I love about Warren is he's been a good soldier about the whole thing. You know what I mean? He hasn't complained. Yeah. He kind of understands the situation and he wants to be a part of it, so I think from that standpoint, he fits well with the culture, and he's, and I'm excited to have him join the big club.
Yeah. Let me see. I was there's something else here. Theo Teddy Flat says Shamet is way better, I guess, than TJ Warren. I guess he doesn't agree with me. Um, listen, I'm not saying either one of them is better, but Shamet, the last couple of games he's been good, but he hasn't been great. Like he hasn't performed. You know, I don't know if
we need Shamet to get his 3-point shooting stroke back, though.
Right.
That's a big weakness for him. If he can't knock down that outside shot, it really limits his effectiveness, in my opinion.
Yes,
but if Shamet starts to shoot the ball well again, I'm going to say that Teddy's wrong. I don't have an opinion one way or the other, but I'm certainly not going to dismiss that opinion out of hand for sure.
Right. David Elbias says, when the Cavs got Hunter, I felt sick in my stomach. He would be perfect for. You know what? Yeah. The thing is, we couldn't have got him because the amount of money he makes, there's just like no way to get him, right? But then you say to yourself, wait, you mean this guy was available? And like, did we make a phone call and find out? He would have been great for us. Like, he's a power forward.
I really like the DeAndre Hunter trade for Cleveland. I think that makes them a much more complete team, at least on paper. But they did send out 2 rotation players for one. So, it helps bolster their starting unit, but I think it weakens their bench a little bit. They lost Karis LeVert and George Niang. So both of those guys were playing good minutes for them. So
no, but
you have to give to get. But Hunter works perfectly there, and really the spot they were missing in their starting lineup. And I think he's going to be, terrific in next to those twin towers and those 2 Mighty Mike guards. That's a dynamic fivesome right there.
Wait, Jeff, is he starting or is he coming off the bench for Cleveland?
Why wouldn't you play him he's a 3, isn't he? I would have him, Mobley, and Allen, and then Spida and
I don't know. The other day I watched him. He came off the bench. Maybe that might have been because that was one of the first games he was playing.
I don't know. I don't know that much about Cleveland. I just assume they traded for him to start him at the 3. If not him, who starts at the 3? Max Strus?
Yeah.
I think Hunter's better than Strus by a long shot. Don't you?
Well, yeah, but when you got to balance it out, though. Because in that starting lineup, that guy like Max Strus, who all he does is shoot threes, he's better for that starting lineup. When you have Donovan Mitchell, when you have the 2 guards and you have the twin towers and you have that guy in the middle, all he does is shoot threes. I think that's a better combination.
Hunter's a good 3-point shooter, isn't he?
Strus is better. Hunter's very good. Strus is just better.
He's a better defender too?
No, DeAndre Hunter's a better defender, but Strus is a better shooter.
I don't know. With Garland and Mitchell, I want the better defender out there. Like I think Hunter in the starting lineup makes a lot more sense long term than Strus does.
Yeah, but
maybe that's just my anti-Miami Heat bias from.
No, I don't think that's what they had though. Let me see.
I believe you. I don't watch the Cavs, so I could be completely wrong. Just in my head, from what I know of those players, that's how I see it. But great pickup for them.
Yeah, it's an awesome pickup. Let me see. We had another comment here. Oh, this is funny. Jabroni Z says, Adjae wants 87 PS power forwards like we had in 2019. We did have a lot of power forwards though back then. We
had Mook, we had Portis,
we had Randall.
And that's not all. We had another one too, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because I remember we signed 4 of them. What was the other one? Can't remember.
Who was the other power forward? Yeah. So, all right. So after now, I don't want to call it the second half of the season because we way past that half the season. What do you expect to see post All-Star, Jeff? And that's not a trick question, but it's a very important question because there are a few things are going to happen, right? We're technically going to get our full team back, fingers crossed, knock on woods, that we're going to get our guy back. Mitchell Robinson's coming back. OG Anunoby's coming back. Deuce is coming back. So we're going to have a full squad. But we're also going to be playing a tougher schedule than we did the first half of the season. So I don't know. You, Jeff, the chat, how do you guys feel about what's coming up starting next week?
Well, you know what? I always have PTSD about the Knicks. I'm not shy about that. You all know that about me. It's it's a fatal flaw, but if it's the biggest one I got, then I'll live with it. But and I'm not saying that it is. I probably have bigger ones than that. But I think the schedule was ramped up over the last 10 games, and we played really well in those games. Like outside, we didn't play well against the Lakers and the Celtics, but pretty much everybody else were teams with winning records. I mean, we handled the Pacers pretty easily. They were ripping through the league before they got to us. We handled Memphis. We handled Denver. And so I think this team's going to rise to the challenge just because Jalen Brunson rises to the challenge. I think you hit the nail on the head, though, Adjae. Health is going to be the key factor here.
Absolutely.
How long is OG going to be out? Is he ready to go like the Knicks kind of claimed, like he was questionable to start in any one of the last two games? Is he going to be 100% come the Chicago game? What's the status with Deuce? How does that rib injury affect his shooting? Does it mean he's out of the picture entirely? When do we see Mitchell Robinson again? All of these things are going to be pivotal to how we move forward. But personally, I think it's encouraging, that we went 2-1 without OG in this last week. I think that's encouraging that we went without one of our best players, and we stepped up. Second night of a back-to-back, so we easily could have lost either one of those games, but no, we didn't. We stepped up, we gutted it out. Was it pretty? No, but I don't believe in I don't believe in what do they call them, those those good losses. I don't believe in that. Like it was a moral victory. I don't believe in moral victories. Forget moral victories. The only kind of victory is the kind that counts in the standings. So I don't believe in moral victories. I'm not going to apologize for ugly losses. You do whatever you can to get more points than the other team at the end of the day, and you don't apologize for it. And, let Trae Young roll the dice somewhere else on his All-Star break, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And the chat, let me see, they have there's a lot of wishes from Knicks fans out there. Guys, listen, I always joke that, Tom Thibodeau, he watched these shows, when he's thinking basketball as background noise, he has some of these content provider shows going on. All right, so let me read some of those comments. Wait, hold on. Let me add with this already. Okay, this one's gone. So, and this is all post All-Star, right? David Elbay says, after the All-Star weekend, we just need to stay healthy and get our bench ready for battle and hope Cavs fall to second. I don't know if Cavs fall to second. Why?
I think the idea there is that we wouldn't play the Celtics we wouldn't have to play the Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals if we got there. I think that's what he's he's implying. I don't see Cleveland falling that far, though. I just don't.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. Let's say, right now Cleveland, they're not falling that far, man. They're like 5.5 games ahead. I don't see that happening. Like something terrible would have to happen to them. But so David Elbay, you feel? I don't know why you guys think Cleveland is. Cleveland is just as tough as Boston for us. I don't see.
Improved at the deadline, as we just said. They're with Hunter. They're more dangerous.
They're more dangerous. I don't see us beating Cleveland either.
Well, a problem with us against Cleveland is all three of those games we have with them are the second night of a back-to-back. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah,
But
no, I
that's
know. We
tough.
talked about it last week, but no, but I'm saying in a playoff, in a 7-game series, I don't think we can beat. We cannot beat Cleveland 4 out of 7. I mean, they're way too talented up there. Not that we're not talented, but those guys, I mean, they're clicking up there in Cleveland.
Well, on the other side of the coin, Jalen Brunson tends to outplay. Jalen tends to outplay Spida head-to-head historically in the postseason. And if Mitchell Robinson does get healthy, he owned Cleveland the last time we played them in the playoffs. I don't know if he can do that again or not, but very interesting there. And then we have McCall and OG. I don't know that we match up poorly against the Cavs. I think it would be a great series, but hopefully we get there because that means we're in the second or third round of the playoffs. So,
I mean, last time we played them, they didn't have Max Strus, who's again one
Nick
of our
Killer,
weaknesses.
Max Strus, by the way.
Yes, because we cannot guard the 3-point line, and he's feasting at the 3-point line. And you have DeAndre Hunter, also a Nick Killer. For several reasons. He's a good 3-point shooter. He's a good wing defender. He's sweet, like he defend like several positions. So they didn't have those players last time we played them. So I mean, listen, those are two tough matchups for us. I don't know. To me, it's like a coin flip.
But again, you're talking about second round of the playoffs. It's tough. Like that's what the playoffs are supposed to be. Like roll up your sleeves and you're grinding. Even the first round of the playoffs in the Eastern Conference is not going to be a cakewalk. Look, these teams are all good. Like the difference between us and the Sixers last year was like 5 or 6 points in a 6-game series. So like yes, we won the series, but it's on a razor's edge. Think about the Pacers series last year. If it's not for that miracle shot in game 3, the Knicks probably sweep that series.
Yeah. Yep.
So sometimes the margins in these things aren't very big. And so, you don't know how teams are going to respond in the playoffs. And Kenny Atkinson's a really good coach. Has he coached a team in the playoffs before? I don't know. I don't think he has. So maybe the Nets did it when he was there. I don't know. But, so all of those things factor in. The playoffs are a different animal. Yeah. And matchups are key. Home court advantage is key. All of those things. So we'll have to see, about all that. But it's quite possible you could be looking at a Knicks Pistons first round series, which I think would be wildly entertaining.
It would be. East Blue Jew says the rest is going to be needed because we're about to learn what we're made of for real. Listen, the rest is definitely going to be a precious. So hope. Well,
you just wanted to say precious.
I just want to say precious. No pun intended. But yeah, the rest is going to be a very welcome thing. It's just unfortunately, it's good that they're going to the All-Star, but I would really like for JP and Cat to really rest. So listen, when you think about it, the All-Star after the All-Star weekend, they really they still have a few days to get together. So like you said, Jeff, hopefully they don't get hurt out there. Right? Don't go out there and tweak anything and roll any ankle or anything like that, and then we'll be fine. All right. Theo Teddy Flat says, post All-Star, I want to see Mitch and OG on minutes restriction and working on good rotation for the second unit. Would you put, I know Tibbs not going to do, especially not with OG, but would you put OG Anunoby on minutes restriction?
I don't think Thibodeau believes in minute restriction. I think if you're cleared to play, it's like you're either healthy or you're not. If you have to be put on a minutes restriction, he's not going to put you out there. If you say that you can play, then you're going to play. But, I don't know. I don't think Mitch is seeing more than 15 minutes a game anyway. Just personally, maybe he'll ramp up to 20, but I just don't see him getting a lot more than that unless Tibbs just really leans into the going big lineup. And I don't personally, I don't think that's the best way to utilize the talent on this team. I really like, the smaller lineup does have its disadvantages on defense, but offensively, it cooks.
Yeah.
I mean, and it really cooks. This is one of the best offenses in the history of the NBA. As it's how much it cooks. So
as far as Mitch and minutes restriction, I don't think, and I agree with you, Tibbs, he doesn't believe in minutes restriction, but Mitch is, like you said, not going to be playing a lot, not because Tibbs don't want to play him, but because he's just not going to be ready. I mean, it's going to take him, weeks to get his game legs under him, Mitch. And we've seen it.
He's lighter than he was last time, so maybe he's better better with his wind than he was last time. Because remember, last time he really bulked up and he had all that weight. It took him a long time to slim up and get into playing shape. But he looks a lot more slender this time around, probably as thin as I've ever seen him since he was a rookie. So, and look, I'm a Mitchell Robinson stan. I admit it. So it's probably homerism and optimism on my part, but maybe this time will be different. But again, we can't rely on that. We just have to. He's gravy, right?
You said that.
If he works out, then it does. But we can't get very far if Anunoby doesn't come back healthy.
Yeah. And thanks for that, Theo. Keith Turner, shout out to Keith Turner, says Mitchell Robinson. This is all post All-Star. What do we expect? Mitchell Robinson has to work himself back into the rotation and get in game shape. Tibbs ain't just gonna. That's exactly what we're saying. We're just saying that just now. He's not gonna put him back in. The minutes restriction on Mitch is just gonna be that.
Mitch is his own minutes restriction.
He's his own exactly. He's not gonna be in game shape. So. And the coaches, they'll see that. Like, he'll see, like, okay, this guy, he's winded. He can't really keep going up and down. All right. JJ says, I just want to see us get a win against Boston and Cleveland. Like Jeff just mentioned, man, we played Cleveland 3 times post All-Star. And every time it's on the second night of a back-to-back. The Knicks sabotage continues from the NBA schedulers. That's not.
They'll get 5 more shots at the apple, though, I think. So you could see it.
Yeah, we play Cleveland 3 times and Boston a couple of more times. Oh, we play Boston at the end of this month also, right?
Yep.
We play Boston on the 23rd. And Cleveland, man, so we play the Bulls on the first game after the All-Star. Then after the night after, we play Cleveland, and then 2 nights later we play Boston. It's gonna be a nice little stretch there. All right, shout out to JJ, man. Cardiac Nick, shout out to Cardiac Nick, says I'm more concerned with how Mitch plays alongside Cat. I'm not concerned about it. I'd like to see it. I'm a
little concerned about it because I don't think the Gobert Towns pairing worked very well, and it seems eerily similar. So I think that Cardiac Nicks has a right to be concerned about the fit there. But I mean, you just have to see how it plays out. Maybe it works because Towns is so good offensively, and it saves him from working so hard on defense. Who knows?
They made it to the conference final.
Yeah, true.
So in the West was not easy, man. So shout out to Cardiac Nick. Thanks for the comment. Old Head says Mitch, OG, and TJ will be a huge boost for the Knicks. Huge. That is if TJ Warren actually somehow makes it on the roster.
Well, it's not that difficult, Adjae. It's just you just have to wait till March 1st, and then you just sign him outright to the minimum, and he's here. It's not like there's any, unless they decide on something else or somebody quote unquote better comes along. It's like, I think it's, like I said, I still think it's the worst kept secret in the NBA. I think it's not a matter of if, but when is what I think about it.
And they don't have to get rid of anybody on the bench.
No, we have an open roster spot right now.
But I'm saying money wise.
No, we don't, because the prorated salary for a minimum player of his experience will be just underneath the room that we have underneath the second apron. That's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
like $50 below the
yeah, but you can be 1 cent below as long as you're below. And we saved like $5,000 in that Jericho Sims trade. So
let me see. One more. Who's that? Keith Turner, right? Keith Turner says Tibbs ain't gonna say we got your back, Mitchell Robinson, and we're gonna give you 30 minutes a game. It ain't that easy. I don't think he's gonna do that.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He agrees with you. He's saying Tibbs isn't just gonna say,
yeah, I know.
Make 30-minute check, go to town. I agree with that.
Yeah. He's So I can't wait to see it. To see what's gonna happen when we have the full lineup. Shout out to JJ. I like Mitch more when he was skinny. He was more versatile. Yeah, but he was also getting bullied by some of the bigger guys. I mean, there aren't too many bigs, big bulky centers in the league anymore.
And frankly, I like Cat against those guys anyway.
The big guys.
I think he defends better against the bigger.
He plays better against the bigger guys. We were just talking about that at the beginning of the show. Against the bigger guys, he's much better than when you put the little guys on him. Yeah. So and that's the wish list from the chat, man. So we're expecting a whole lot to see. We expect to see a whole lot post All-Star, and I'm looking at the schedule here, right? So we mentioned the Bulls, followed by the Cavs the next night, the Celtics, the 76ers. Who knows if Joel Embiid is? We don't even know who's playing in that. That team.
Yeah, but the Sixers are going to give us a game. It doesn't matter. Like they could have just Quentin Grimes and Maxey, and they'll be flaming 3-pointers with like playing 2-on-5 and keeping a game. You know how that goes.
I know, but I'm not afraid of them. Like, unfortunately, they're not. That's
a game you have to win. Let's put it that way.
That's like a
all
game.
These other games, the Chicago and Philly game. If you want to avoid like a big losing streak, you got to get those games. Right.
Yeah, and especially Chicago, they beat us twice already, so we have to come in ready for this game. Yeah. That's a revenge game. We can't come in there thinking it's going to be an easy game. All right, and and I'm looking at this back to back, Jeff. There's something that happened the other night that, like, I want to. So I'll say what it is, right? And I want your opinion on that, and the chat's opinion. So. And it's not a criticism of Tom Thibodeau. It's just something I wouldn't have done that he did. And I want to know how you in the chat feel about it, right? So we're playing the Pacers, okay? We're playing the Pacers. We up by like 15, 18 points. Jalen Brunson had 5 fouls. I mean, so he was relegated to the bench, right? Most of the third quarter, like the third quarter and most of the fourth quarter, he was on the bench. We're up by like 15, 16 points. I don't remember how many points. Campaign playing well, Deuce playing well. I mean, we're rolling. Cat is killing it. And we have a game the very next day, right? What does Thibodeau do? He dusts Brunson off the bench and throw him in the game. I was like, why? Why do you do that? I mean, this was the perfect opportunity to keep him fresh for the game the next night, and he threw him in.
He didn't play very long though. He was out there a minute.
Listen. Brunson should have been in the locker room at that point.
Maybe, but when you see us blow a 6-point lead in 7 seconds, you kind of see why Tom Thibodeau kind of wants to keep his starters out there.
Yeah, but we were up like 15 points with
I
you know
know, but 15-point
saying?
leads disappear pretty fast. Did you see what happened when the Pacers went on an 8-0 run in the last minute and a half when we had our scrubs in there? If you have them out there and extended another minute and a half or so, might become a good game. Who knows? But I don't know. I don't overly worry about that. I kind of get it. Yeah, it would be awesome. Actually, I thought he did a good job for the most part in limiting. Like, I don't think Brunson played more than 23 minutes the whole night anyway. So
that game, yeah, because he was in foul trouble.
Because of the foul trouble. So he was going to be fresh for the next game, regardless. If you're worried about injury, okay, I'll buy that. And I agree that Cam Payne was playing well enough that you probably didn't need to put him out there unless Payne needed a rest. I don't know. But
yeah, I just wanted, like, and I was watching the game. I'm like I made a mental note, be like, why is he putting Brunson out there? Like, we don't need him out there, and we have a game tomorrow. Just, let the other guys cook, man. These guys, they're killing the Pacers. Let him finish these dudes off, and I don't know. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but I definitely did.
They noticed. I promise.
Yeah, I'm sure these.
We got the sharpest chat around, man. They don't miss a trick. I'm telling you, they notice every detail, every I, every T. If there's an extra tick mark on that T, they're like, you look at that. You see, we messed that up. They're on it, man. That's what makes this so good. Is they're so sharp. It's iron sharpens iron. It's great stuff.
He's Blue Juice, because I was saying, like, I don't want to. It's not a criticism. He's Blue Juice says criticize him. I can imagine him yelling that. He lets Brunson do whatever he wants to do. I don't know if that was a Brunson call. If maybe Tibbs made the call. I don't know. Do you think Brunson is like, let me in the game, coach? Or I don't think he does that. I think the coach does what he wants. You know what I'm saying?
He's the one who's going to get fired if he does a bad job. So I guess he should be able to do what he wants, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
Like, his job on the line, like, he should be able to make whatever decision he thinks is best for the team, whether I agree with it or not.
Yeah. We was up by 18 against the Hawks and let them come back and forced overtime. So
indeed.
So that was crazy, man. And I don't even know, because I was watching the game. Is that it? I can't point at anything we did particularly, except for porous defense, that allowed the Hawks to get back in the game. Or, you know what? I think they killed us on the board, didn't they?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I didn't get to watch until like the last couple minutes, because I was at an elders meeting for church, and I didn't get home until the final. I think they're in the middle of the 6-point collapse when I turned it on. So
yeah, but it wasn't. It's like we didn't play terrible. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like they just keep crawling and crawling. They crawling their way back, and they finally got back. Let me get this real quick. I think they killed us on the board, because I mean, just not looking at the stats, just watching the game, I feel like they were grabbing like every little rebound, like everything that was coming up, they were grabbing. So we had 39 rebounds. They had 47. So I mean, they didn't crush us. They grabbed more rebound, but we weren't crushed. I don't know.
No, but it might have been really bad during that period of time too. We might have been winning the rebounding battle early in the game, and then they flipped a switch, and that's when you started to notice it. Okong was a really good offensive rebounder.
He is, and he I think having him is what probably led to them getting rid of DeAndre Hunter. Or they feel like they could probably get rid of him.
Well, plus they have the rookie Ricochet, and they've got that other rookie, and I think they just wanted their young kids to play. I don't think they planned on paying DeAndre Hunter long-term anyway, so let's get a couple of rotation players for him and allows our allows our young players to get more action, especially since Jalen Johnson's out for the rest of the year anyway. You know, it gives them they played 2 rookies extended minutes last night, if I'm not mistaken. That I don't know how to pronounce that, the one guy's name, the guy's playing the 3, and then they had Risha at the 4. Small forward from Senegal.
Yeah, Gaye, Mohamed Gaye. Yeah.
Gaye.
Yeah, Mohamed Gaye looks. I'm reading.
I didn't know how to pronounce this last
name. But he didn't play that long. He played like 15 minutes, about 16 minutes he played.
He started though.
Did he?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, he did. He started at forward. Yeah, he did. Risa Shea did. Onyeka Okongwu. How about Dyson Daniels, man? That guy, he's a very good defender, man. Like he's
best in the league.
He's annoyingly good.
But he got cooked. Brunson did work.
Yeah, he disrupted a lot though. I mean,
he did.
Brunson
got the best. Brunson put that work in. He showed him that work. He killed him. Yeah. Brunson was fabulous the last 2 games. Absolutely fabulous. Well, not this game and the Boston game. I guess he didn't play much in this middle game, but of late he's been awesome. And the last 2 times we played the Hawks, he was really good.
East Blue Juice says, I'm guessing you're saying when the Hawks were making a comeback, those were our trusted starters out there. Hey man, it happens. You know, we lost Deuce, so we didn't have there was not a lot of flexibilities off that bench. I guess that, you know, in terms of people that Tibbs trust. JB needs to hawk the ball less and move it around. He's got to know they got to double team him come the playoffs. I mean, that's never been a problem. It's not like we haven't seen him in the playoffs. We've seen him in the playoffs. He performs. He scores. He passes the balls when he does what he have to do. I mean, he's not a, you know, cardiac Nick. You know, Brunson is a very good playoff performer. I mean, we've seen some of his best games in the playoffs.
Trey had killed us on his with the assists. He's Blue Drew, but you look at the shooting percentages. Young was clanking it all over the court, and Brunson was hyper efficient. I mean, Brunson's just not the assist guy that Young is. That Young is probably the best assist guy in the league, if you want to be honest about it. I mean, so they're different from that aspect. But if you want to talk about shot taking and shot making, Brunson was more efficient and he was better in the clutch. And and Young doesn't typically shoot a good percentage against us at the Garden. I think in his last 7 or 8 games, he shot over 50% one time. So, I mean, this whole Trae Young owns the Knicks is more mythology than it is fact. But, you know, gets a lot of clicks on ESPN.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And going back to the you know, we were talking about Jabrani Z says it's a combination of both. I think the players want to play as much as possible, and Tibbs enable them to dictate their own minutes. Well, that's not good because the coach is supposed to manage the game. You know, you gotta. I don't know, but listen, there's nothing wrong with what he did. I'm just saying, if I were the coach, I would have been, or you know, one of the assistants coach should have been like, listen, you do know we're playing tomorrow, right? So if there's no reason to put him in the game, I would have let him rest. I'm just saying that's what I would have done. But you know, he does what he does, and I kind of made a little note of that.
Shout out to the Chief Rocker DJ Shuttle in the house.
Oh, Shuttle,
good to
What's
see you,
up,
brother.
Man? Oh yeah. Yeah, get at him, Shuttle. 49 likes, man. Like, come on, man. Y'all hit that like button, man. You know, just thinking it show every Thursday here, unless there's a game, but every Thursday we here. And sometimes Shuttle's here with us too on the panel.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, shout out to you, DJ Shuttle. East Blue Juices, we always let teams come back. That's the difference between us and Boston. I disagree because I've seen teams come back on Boston too.
Well, first of all, that's the NBA. The shooting is so spectacular nowadays. There's no lead is safe. Yeah. But I do think East Blue Drew has a point. I think that the Knicks have trouble getting stops sometimes. And when you can't get stops, sometimes you let teams creep back in the game when you shouldn't. And this team struggles sometimes on the defensive end of the court. And if you do that, and it's, it just takes 1 or 2 threes to fall to get a team hot and believing. So I think that there is something to that, where Boston has more lockdown defenders at all 5 positions, in my opinion. And so sometimes in a game, they can just put the clamps down on you and just bury you. And I'm not saying the Knicks can never get to that stage, but certainly not the identity of our team at the moment. We certainly seem to be like, the crazy part to me is we ran the Pacers off the court. Like, we beat the Pacers at their own game. We were out running and outgunning Indiana. And that shows you how potent this offense is and how much different this offense is compared to years past when we had guys like Mitch and Ihart in the lineup.
Right. Shout out to Cardiac Nick, said Cat needs to start posting up and take advantage of his size against smaller bigs instead of driving to the basket all the time and falling down. Bro, you speaking my language, bro. Jeff, I'm telling you, I would put a limit on how many times Cat drives the ball to the basket, because I would either post him up or have him, shoot the 3-pointers, or give me a little mid-range. You don't have to be under the basket. It doesn't have to be a poster, because he does have a mid-range. So if that drive to the basket, like, so many things could go wrong, I'd like put a limit, like a cap. But dude, you already did your 3 drives for the night. That's it.
That's such a big part of his offensive game, though. It's such a weapon.
I know, but you see the train, you see him going down. You're like, oh wait, oh,
I get
wait,
it. And then he's all the way on the ground. So if he misses, it's a fast break the other way. I understand. Believe me, I watch the games too. I know exactly what you're talking about. But at the same time, I think that it's how the Knicks take advantage of his skill. Being able to utilize him in space like that, and then it's tough. He's so good off the bounce. It's tough to really double him, especially if he's surrounded by shooters, because he's such a terrific passer. So, as much as that makes even me cringe sometimes, I understand it at the same time too. So, it's a give and take with anything else. He doesn't play a ton with his back to the basket, though. Not to say that he doesn't have that in his game. I mean, who can forget the pretending to be fouled and arguing with the ref and then busting
with the
against the Magic? That was one of my favorite plays of the season.
The Wagner brother, yeah. No, but that was listen. He can play. He can post down low. He just chooses not to. That's just not his favorite. When he drives, he gets picked. He commits fouls, he runs over people, then he falls, he lands on the cameraman, like all kind of stuff happened, man. I'm like, dude, listen, man, please, 3 times, no more than 3 times a game.
Yes, old head's right. He does fall every time he drives. He's always there. Must be he must get paid to tackle the cameraman or something, because he does every time he goes to the hoop.
But eventually,
it's like the Lambo leap into the crowd.
You keep falling, you're gonna get hurt in one of those falls, man. You gotta play smart.
Yep.
And a lot of times too, like, he goes in, they foul him a lot, but he doesn't get the calls. When he's driving, he gets smacked, punched, like, all kind of stuff. Tripped, he doesn't get the calls. Because they're not going to call it every time. Like, the refs will let some stuff go. They can't keep calling fouls because you're driving to the basket.
Well, they could.
But they won't. They just they could, but they don't. They just don't do that. Cat needs to start posting up and take advantage of smaller sense. Yeah, so I saw that. East Blue Drew says Brunson should average 15 assists.
Wow, that's a lot of dimes, man. 15? Who's the last player to average 15 assists per game in a season? That's a lot.
But let me ask you, what would that mean? Like, if he averaged 15 assists, what does that indicate? Because Jeff, you know me and this stat, right?
Yeah, you're not an assist guy. I understand that too. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not that I'm not an assist guy. People take that as like it means more than it actually does. You know, so Bronson not assisting 15 assists that doesn't mean he doesn't pass the ball. That could also mean the guy he's giving the ball to, he's passing the ball to, it is not hitting a shot.
And the Knicks ball movement has been really good this year. Like, I think they had 37 assists on 49 made field goals against the Hawks, I'm wanting to say, something like that. That's an outstanding assist percentage. So the Knicks, I mean, they do have their moments where they kind of stagnate, but I think that especially with Josh Hart out there, they really do a good job spreading the wealth.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sometimes some sequence, some plays, you would prefer him to pass the ball. I agree. I don't disagree. But yeah, there is ball movement, and sometimes the ball end up in the wrong hand, and sometimes we're the ball's moving around, and it gets to Josh Hart with 2 seconds left on the shot clock, and Josh Hart had to take a 3-pointer. He's not our best shooter. I mean, that's just what happens in the game.
Yeah, we're a pretty low turnover team for the most part too, though. We're for as much as we pass the rock, I think we protect it pretty well too, except for that egregious pass by Towns at the end of the Atlanta game that made the rest of my hair fall out of my head. But for the most part, as a general rule.
Yeah. And Jabroni says that's not Brunson's game. That's like asking Mikal Bridges to average 10 rebounds. In terms of passing the ball. I don't think that's not his game. He plays, he reads the game. If the game, if the game requires that he pass the ball more in that particular game, he'll pass the ball. Like, I don't know how he get that reputation of being a ball hog.
And he's actually averaging more assists this year than I think any other year of his career. 15 assists per game is a ton. Like, how many NBA players have averaged 15 assists per game? Like, has that it? I mean, I think Magic might have done it, maybe Stockton, and maybe Oscar Robertson. I don't know. The list can't be that many. Like, Young is one of the tops in the league, and he tops out at 11 or 11 and a half, I think.
Yeah. Well, East Blue Drew, like that doesn't happen often, man. Come on. Yeah, that's happened a couple of times. But it's not like he's a turnover machine. What are we talking about here, man? He dribbles into trap. Yeah, he does, but he gets out of it. He scores.
He makes the shot. Usually
he makes the shot. He runs, he dribbles right into traffic and somehow makes the shot. Okay, he's not a high turnover guy. Come on.
I think he's only averaged 2.5 turnovers per game and almost 8 assists. So the ball's always in his point guard. That's about as. I mean, can it be better? Yeah, but you're not. If you're better than 2-1 in my book, that was the assist to turnover ratio we were always looking for when I was coaching.
And East Blue Drew says Cat goes to the rim weak. I don't think he goes in weak. I think he goes in sloppy. Like, he's all over the place. Like, he's out of control when he goes to the rim. He doesn't go, like, in fact, I think he goes hard. Like, anything in his way, he's like they drop it like pinballs when he goes around. Like, everybody's like flying all over the place. I don't think that's weak at all. It seems like it's all over the place. Like, it's not organized, or it's a little sloppy.
I agree with East Blue Drew, though. There are times, and I thought the Pacers game in the first half was one of them, when Brunson gets tunnel vision and needs to look for it. Like, in the first half of that Pacers game, before he got in the big foul, he was hunting shots. I think it was like 3 for 10 from the field, and Towns was unstoppable. Like, just feed Cat. His coach is always telling him the game is going to dictate what you're going what you're going to do. Well, that was, they didn't have Turner in there. Towns was just cooking everything he needed to recognize that quicker and get the ball to him every time down the floor, because they had no answer for him.
Right. Can put in video games number. JJ, shout out to JJ, said Cat goes in clunky and awkward. He goes in uncoordinated. JJ, he's like, like boys, like when we have our growth spurt, right? Like the limbs, we almost can't control them. We don't fully have control of our limbs yet.
Like that's a puppy who hasn't grown into his feet yet. His feet are too big for the rest of his body, and he can't.
That's how Cat is like. It's like, like we, because most boys, like over like a 6-month period, you get this crazy growth spurt, like, and then you start hitting stuff. You're like, oh, shit, I didn't realize my arms were that long. Like all of a sudden, everything's long as, uncoordinated.
Which is crazy because he has so much finesse to his game.
Yeah.
And then, that's
accuracy.
The one. And then he turns into like the Flintstones or Scooby-Doo when he's charging down to the, you know what I mean?
That's hilarious. He does. I mean, it's all over the place. He's like the lambs all over, do whatever they want. It's like but that's one of the reasons why I want him to do that a little less, because he get, they call offensive fouls at him because he's in running, he's elbowing and smacking guys on the way to the basket too. Like he gets fouled a lot and they don't call it, and he also fouls people a lot and they don't call it. So I guess it, okay. All right. So the next, Jeff, I mean, the All-Star game, I don't care. I don't care about the All-Star game. Like what I normally do with the All-Star game, I check to see what my guys are doing, right? Like when Obi's in dunk contests, you check it out. When Bronson's gonna be in the 3-point contest, so we're gonna be checking it out and rooting for him, right?
Speaking of, shout out to Hard Will's nephew, Steph Castle, gonna be in the dunk contest. So y'all,
nice.
Y'all all watch that and cheer for Steph Castle, because that dude he's nice. I like Castle's game, and Hardwell has always been a friend of the program. So y'all make sure y'all support. I mean, I know he's not a Knick guy, but make sure you support Castle this weekend.
Yeah, awesome. Congrats to that. Yeah, JB's gonna be a 3-point contest, and then of course those guys are playing, but it's kind of like they're playing in the All-Star game. You don't really care. I don't know. It's not something I don't really watch the game. It's on though. It's just background noise, but I don't really pay attention to it. And it's gonna be much of the same this time.
Well, they don't care about it. They don't play defense. It's just a glorified scrimmage. Like, okay, whatever. I like rest up. I'm more concerned about the game 55 or whatever it is. Let's beat Chicago in the Windy City and get Cleveland in the back-to-back and start the second half. Well, as you said, not half, but I'm going to say half, because we're probably going to hopefully play 10 or 15 playoff games with you add to what's left on the schedule.
Right.
That might get you to half. So let's call it the second half of the season.
Yeah,
and hope we're playing until June.
And the first 3 games, like we mentioned, are insane, man. So we get the Bulls, we get the Cavs, and we get the Celtics. Again, I mean, that's just So yeah, these guys, they bet.
You want to be the best, you got to beat the best, right? So you're gonna have to play them at some point.
Yeah. So the All-Star game is gonna be background noise. I don't know. They have a different format this year.
Yeah, it's multiple games, isn't it?
It's like, so they have
the rookies, the Rising Stars has a team, and they play, I don't know,
one of those,
Jack, one of those 3, and then the winners of those 2 play in the championship.
Right. So I guess it's 1, 2, so it's 3 games, right?
I guess. I don't know. I won't be watching.
But how long are those games? Is it like a quarter's worth?
I don't know.
Oh, wait, no. I think it's whoever gets to a certain score first. I don't know. Something.
Is that how it is?
That's
That
I've
might be
heard.
interesting.
I heard that. I don't know if like they were
Does
discussing.
anybody in the chat know what's up with the All-Star weekend? I have no idea.
The format for that All-Star game.
Bad job by me. I don't follow it, so I don't really care about it. So I never really gave it much of a thought.
It's East Blue Drew. I don't think it's gonna. It's gonna be competitive because you have the best, but it's not gonna be. They're not really gonna actually, like Jeff said, they don't play defense. It's a glorified scrimmage, and it's just gonna be the same thing. But you know what might be different, Jeff? If the team, that fourth team, the Rising Star team, they may actually play a real game. Those kids.
Yeah, they got something to prove, I guess.
Yeah. They may come in and actually play a real game and force whatever team they're playing with to play a real game.
It'd be interesting if the Rising Stars won. That would be entertaining. I think that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Although it would be nice to see either Jalen or Cat's team win. It's stupid that they're not on the same team. I'm sorry, that annoys me. Like, they're teammates. They shouldn't be playing against each other in the All-Star game.
Why not?
What do I know?
That'd be awesome. And I think Brunson is in Team Kenny and Cat is in Team Chuck. Of course, it's no surprise that no Nick made it to Team Shaq because he really hates the Knicks. I don't know why. Old head
dropping the knowledge on us. Did you see that?
Oh wait, yeah. Let me put that up. Okay, I think they played the first team. Oh, okay. So it's to 40 points. There are 3 teams plus the winner of the right. That's right. So they play to 40. Oh boy. I don't
know. That's weird too, though. It just doesn't seem like basketball. It's like the NFL plays flag football in their All-Star game. It's crazy. I don't know. Like I said, just give the guys the honors and don't have a game. That's my take on it. You want to do a 3-point shooting contest? I'm all for that. That's entertaining, but yeah, I'm not into All-Star games at all in any sport, not just basketball. Well, I will say the NBA All-Star game is probably the best one out of all of them. Although my dad says it's baseball, but he says baseball about everything. So
yeah. JJ, shout out to JJ, just said, I knew Shaq wasn't going to pick a Nick.
That's for sure, JJ.
Nick.
He would rather cut off his arm than pick a Nick or say anything nice about a Nick ever.
Yo, Shaq, I would like to ask him, dude, so why do you hate the Knicks so much? Because
I don't want to ask him that. I want to win the NBA title, and then I want to have the parade go right by his house.
No, but it's I remember a couple of years back he said something like well, it doesn't matter that the Knicks make the playoffs, like, if you don't have home court advantage, you're doing nothing. And that so happened to be the year that it turned out that we're the 4th seed that year. He said, well, you got to win a series, like he keeps moving the goalpost every time, But anyway, whatever.
Well, and he was with the Magic with, when Patrick was big. And so that was a rivalry too. So, I'm sure that has something to do with it. And I don't know. I don't really care what Shaq has to say. Like, get off my TV. That's all I can say.
I don't watch that stupid thing anymore. Anyway, Jabroni's, he said he from Jersey. That's all you need to know. Yeah, people from Jersey hate them. Is that why Kyrie Irving don't like the Knicks?
Hey, I'm from Jersey. I like the Knicks. I don't understand these. You're from Jersey. You're supposed to like the Knicks. What, you're gonna be a Nets fan? No.
Oh, yeah. All right. So so the All-Star game, it is what it is. Hopefully they don't play our guys too many minutes, and that's what I'm hoping doesn't. Obviously you don't want anybody to get hurt, but I just hope they don't play our guys too many minutes.
If the game's just to 40 points, I can't imagine there being that many minutes. Like
I know, right? Especially
they
with
can get to 40 points in a hurry.
Especially with no
unless
defense.
it's by ones or something like that, ones and twos. Like with twos and threes, it doesn't take, but there's not gonna be that much time to play to get up to 40.
Yeah. Allhead, is that true or are you just making this up? He said, I heard Shaq say he was going to sign with the Knicks, but instead they gave Houston 100 million, so he went to Miami and won a chip.
If that's true, I would be so sad. Like, I loved Allen Houston, but if you had the opportunity to sign Shaq and you said, nah, I'm okay, give me Houston and his bulky knees for $100 million, that would make me very upset. Like, please don't let that be true. But I believe you, old head, because you know your stuff, but that hurts my heart, my friend.
But where was Shaq in his career, though, when he played for Miami? What was he? I mean, he was still good, obviously, but he wasn't peak Shaq, though.
He was better than Allen Houston at any point in Allen Houston's
career.
Man,
Jeff, don't talk.
I love Allen Houston. Houston was
Jeff,
great. I love the shot that beat Miami and all
that
that
shot
stuff.
beat Miami is that's
I mean,
in Knicks museum, buddy. So
and Barkley hates the Knicks because we used to abuse him. He never beat us in the playoffs. That's why Barkley hates us.
He's come around. He's come around. Chuck's come around. He doesn't hate the Knicks.
Jabroni, I think, is right. The Allen Houston contract, I think, came way before Shaq going to Miami. I think that's right. But I'm old and I don't remember, so I'm going to take your word, but that sounds correct.
So all head out there making stuff up? Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember the timeline, but that's probably right because I don't know. Barkley has come around, and it's not Barkley. I think Barkley hated the Knicks because of Oak. Him and Oak like really hated each other.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jeff! I remember these guys. They had a fight in a preseason, like a meaningless preseason game. I mean, I think
Oakley was strong, man. Oakley was just a tree, man. You could not move him. And Barkley was used to just pushing everybody around, and nobody pushed Charles Oakley anywhere.
That's how intense it was between those guys, man. David Elbire, another question for the panel. Do we want to face Boston early in the playoffs when we are still fresh and healthy, or later when both teams are beat up and tired?
I want to play Boston anytime in the second round or after. I don't really care. As long as, because that means we're in the second round of the playoffs and we've got a shot. So let's go with that. And Jabroni Z, my mom's from Fanwood. I was born in Plainfield, New Jersey, and I lived there for a while, and then we moved to Pennsylvania when I was a youngster, and we lived in Allentown, which is right outside of Jersey, about 15 miles. So about an hour from the city.
East Blue Drew, I love that era. Yeah, so my answer to that question is that just like you, Jeff, I don't care because and David Elbire said, when we're still fresh and healthy, that means they too are still fresh and healthy. I want to play them when we're fresh and healthy and they all beat up and tired. How can we get that combination? That's when I want to play them.
Yeah, I want to play them as wounded as possible too. Anything that makes it easier for us to move on is better.
Yeah, with KP not playing, Drew Holiday still not back. That's when I want to play them. So, yeah, and Jeff, hey man, it's already 11, almost 30. I don't know.
Salute to the chat, man. They've been rocking all night. They've
awesome,
just made it. You know, we this was just kind of a freestyle show. We didn't have a ton prepared, and we just rode with the energy of the chat. And as always, you just brought it. So to everybody, Craig was out here loud and proud, man. My guy was making points a lot tonight. He was real. I think we got hit with more tomatoes than we've ever been in a single show. So next week I'm going to have I'm going to have a poncho or something to protect from the tomatoes.
From Greg? Yeah, Greg spent a lot of money on tomatoes tonight. Spent a lot of money.
Salute to everyone, especially DJ Shuttle in the house. That's our guy. Be sure you're checking out his stuff, man. He's incredible. Such a talented DJ. And next week, we should have Queen back in the house, and hopefully Jarrell too. So should be a full show.
Should be a full show, and we might be able to take some calls also next week, because you got to remember next week it's still during the break, in the All-Star break. So we're probably gonna have like a nice lineup, discuss more what to expect it's towards the last part of the season and what we want to see from the Knicks and what we hope to accomplish with this fresh new team that we have, man. So so shout out to Queen, shout out to Jarrell, Jeff, and chat. Like I don't want to say name because I don't want to miss anybody, and but everybody in the chat, man, just make sure you hit the like button. And if you're just catching the tail end of this, don't forget you could go back and be part of the replay gang, and also leave comments when you watch us on the replay, because we do go back and interact there when you guys leave your comments there. All right, so hey, it's all-star break, not much going on, and next oh wait, Jeff, we have a game next Thursday, so I don't think we have a show next Thursday.
Oh
yeah.
Well, keep your notifications turned on.
Exactly.
Queen, and we'll have a show at some point. It may not be the usual time, but
it's probably I'm dare I say it's gonna be Tuesday or Wednesday, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll but like Jeff said, keep your notifications on, and then when we start the show, you get notified. You guys can come here and hang out with us on the Dope Soul Sports Talk.
And JJ, yes, I'm a Jets fan, and releasing Rodgers, like, they won 5 games with him, they'll win 5 games without him. He's, we can't walk in a straight line and chew bubble gum. So they got a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, new everything. So I don't know. My one saving grace is the Knicks right now. So I'm just gonna focus on that, and then we'll let that Jets mess work itself out, and I can complain about that in August.
Man, I remember the Hopla when he was coming here. Oh my God, Jets Nation went crazy. Hey, we getting Aaron Rodgers. Game 1, he was out.
Well, I'm telling you, there are very few curses like being a Jets and a Knicks fan. I'm just telling you, that is like the 1-2 punch combo. At least Giants fans have like multiple championships in there in my lifetime. I'm a big ofer, and so we got this Knicks team's got to get one for me.
Got to get one, man. Knicks got to get one. But anyway, chat, thank you for hanging out with us. Like I said, remember to hit the like button on your way out, and see you guys next time. Keep your notifications on, because I don't know, next time's not going to be next Thursday because we have a game. So it's going to be Tuesday or Wednesday. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you shine.